All right, time now for something a bit lighter. After holidays, some people like to give their livers a break with dry January. So it's detox time with Shona Bhattacharyya. Hello to you. Shona, first of all, I'm going to put you on the spot. Are you participating in dry January?
Well, I am, but I'm not doing it on purpose because I am 5 months pregnant. And yeah, thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. Coming out on air with the pregnancy. No, but actually, it's actually when I was looking for alternatives to drink that I kind of discovered this whole industry. But we'll get to that later. Let's talk about dry January first. So it's a UK initiative that's been around now for a few years, and in France, it kind of hopped over the channel 5 years ago. This is the fifth edition, and of course, in France, we love to make a big deal about everything because we're very dramatic and emotional people. And 48 addiction specialists wrote a letter, an open letter to the government in December, asking the government of Emmanuel Macron to support dry January. So the month of January, no alcohol for people who want to do it, detox, whatever. And Macron said no.
Yeah, and this isn't clearly a political issue on one side of the spectrum or other either.
I'm pretty sure it's like a general French thing, right? So Macron was like, no, I'm not going to support it. And that was quite shocking to a lot of people. But you have to understand that wine is France's second biggest export. It weighs almost 23 billion euros. And it's a big part of French culture, French history, of the way that French people perceive themselves. So it is true that about 30% of people said that they would try to ideally participate in dry January. And, if it works for them, then, good for them.
Yeah, and just to put it into more perspective for our viewers, it's not uncommon to see colleagues perhaps having a glass of wine with their lunch while they're on the job. So,
I mean, there is wine at the canteen here.
Indeed.
Yeah, there is.
Shona, what does all this say about the French attitudes towards alcohol?
Well, so there are lots of statistics about France and French people and alcohol. So we've got about 22% of French people who drink too much. What that means is that they have more than the kind of regulated, healthy 10 glasses a week. That's what the scientists have decided is health specialists is healthy. That's maximum 2 glasses a day, with some days where there's no drinking at all. So 22% that go above that. But you also have the exact same percentage, about 1 in 5 people in France who don't drink at all. And so it's the people in between who, most of them are in between. But the whole idea of this dry January is to kind of make people rethink their relationship with alcohol. So another thing that we can say about alcohol in France is that it is the second cause of avoidable death after tobacco smoking, with about 49,000 deaths related to alcohol consumption in France, and that weighs about 118 million, I think, in the Social Security system. So it's also a taxpayer thing, right? People paying for them. And then there is also an interesting trend happening. So between April 2022 and April 2023, we saw that the number of people who drink alcohol shrank by 2.5%, and the number of people who don't drink alcohol or who say that they are now abstinent rose by 5.5%. So actually, you know what? I'm going to rephrase that, and it's actually related to the drinking and to the actual sales. So let me start that again. The sales of non-alcoholic drinks went up 5.5%.
I'm not going to ask if you were drinking while you were writing this.
No, I was totally drunk. The alcoholic wines, the alcoholic. We'll talk about that later. But the alcoholic drinks, the sales of those went down 2.5%. So that's I rectified that.
What are these non-alcoholic beverages?
Yeah, so there's basically 2 kinds of non-alcoholic beverages, right? So there's, I'm not talking about like water and juice, okay? So we're talking about, there's alcohol that's like made like alcohol. Yeah. So wine, beer, champagne, cider, hard cider, like alcohol. And then there's an extra process where they burn off the alcohol. So it's the same drink, and then if it's like, hard cider, then they re-put in the gas to make it bubbly. Or like champagne. So you have these like non-alcoholic wines. That's what it is. It's a regular wine that has one more step in the process where they burn off the alcohol. They shave off the alcohol. And then there's the second kind of wine or of non-alcoholic beverage. And this is what I think is actually really interesting. It's this whole industry that is trying to develop drinks that are not imitations of alcohol. It's not non-alcoholic gin, non-alcoholic rum. All that stuff exists. But this is like a drink that is like you can have it, which is meant to be had at dinner or before or like after, whatever. Digestif, apéritif, all these things, these different kinds of. But it's something that does not look like something else, right? It's something that is completely new, and that is a drink. It is a cocktail, but it doesn't have alcohol. And that way there is something kind of special about it. And then there is something that's considered to be a little bit more fancy or a little bit more expensive or a little bit just like out of the ordinary. It's not a juice, it's not tea, it's not coffee. So this is the other kind. I just do want to finish on non-alcoholic wines, which is like a really weird idea for French people. I mean, my in-laws who are French and who make wine told me when I was pregnant last time that I could drink wine, just not alcohol. So for a lot of winemakers, it's a really hard concept to grasp. And one of them even said, non-alcoholic wine is a misnomer. It's basically, if we could get that quotation up there so that I can actually read it. It's a misnomer. It's basically, a byproduct of fermentation, or else it's just grape juice. And we've been drinking it, for 8,000 years. So don't deprive us of it. So that's his message to the world.
All right, Shona. Thank you very much, Shona Bhattacharya, reporting there.